value for money products is what everybody wants. So they want the best camera, the best battery, the best processor at the lowest price.
We are not a price-conscious nation anymore.
Today, the value, is of utmost importance to the consumer. They are not necessarily going and buying the cheapest phone out there.
One of the good things that I see here in the audience, it's predominantly young, and that's representative of how we are as a nation, right? We are a smartphone-first nation. At CyberMedia Research, we do track the technology trends, and it's part of the CyberMedia group. So we have been intricately involved with India's evolution over the last 40 years in the ICT industry. With smartphones, what we have seen is, if you were to look at the last decade as such, whatever India does, it does on its smartphone, whether it be the payments, the education, or for that matter, entertainment or content creation, all of that's happening on smartphones. And while the theme is premium smartphones, I wanted to put this in a certain framework for you. It's that there is no other country out there which is, the way we are. Very diverse, and so much of innovation happening on the smartphone, and that's contributing to the digital economy of India. Today, I have got the distinct honor of having such a stellar panel with me. I'll quickly jump into this, talk in terms of how we have reached here in terms of smartphone manufacturing. I have Harshji. He will talk to us about the state of smartphone manufacturing, Make in India. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. So we will talk in terms of how we have reached here, and then we'll dive into the discussion thereafter. Harshji.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. In fact, how we have reached here is a very interesting question in terms of manufacturing, as well as I'll say in terms of the evolution of mobile phones. If you go 25 years, 30 years back, when in 1990s the mobile came into existence, came into country, it was a feature phone with number pad, black screen, monochrome screen. And I'm sure since the generation is sitting here is very young, they must not have seen those phones. And in 2000, the upgraded version came. The smaller phones, the previous one, we used to call them, in our time, we used to call them like a dumbbell. It was a shape and size of a dumbbell phones. So in 2000, the technology changed, CDMA also came, GSM came. Colored screen, only blue color was there. And a camera which was giving a very shady pictures of us came. Fast forward 10 years, the smartphone started coming. And then you fast forward 10 more years, in 2010 to 2020, the change is phenomenal. And certainly what Mr. Prabhu said, that this generation, so I owe it to this generation, when this generation came, everything started changing. So, and if you see in the terms of technology, whether it is OLED screens, camera, dual camera, fingerprint sensor, everything came in these last 10 years. And after 2020 onwards, it is like mother of all innovations, 5G and AI, which is going to rule this century. You all are aware how the smartphone has changed the complete scenario of how a human being breathes and lives. And now in this journey of the mobile phone, certainly India as a country, as a nation, has picked the bus at the right moment, at the right spot. And why I'm saying this is not only rhetoric, it is certainly the numbers speak. Once you talk about a tree, it is what type of fruit it bears, not that you have to talk what type of fruit it will bear. So the numbers are very clear and evident. Last year, from India, the export has been $5.5 billion US. Last year, it raised 44% to $9 billion US. And this year, it has already crossed $10 billion US. And we are expecting the result to be coming above $12 billion US, which is a phenomenal thing. And right now, India as a country is exporting to more than 100 countries in the globe. So this speaks itself of the growth journey of India as a country in the mobile phone manufacturing.
Thank you so much. And again, I must add, I didn't say this before, but all of you are young. Please feel free to hashtag any of them on your conversations online. All of them are savvy enough on Instagram, you should definitely put us out. That would be really something. With that, and what Harshri was saying, that's something interesting as well. What we have seen at CyberMedia Research is this evolution in terms of smartphones getting percolating in an innovation manner. Like what we have seen is there has been a shift in consumer behavior. We are not a price-conscious nation anymore. It's an evident shift towards value consciousness, which means across price segments, Indian consumers are the most demanding, which means the challenge for smartphone OEMs is really tough. The bar for them is to really innovate and provide the consumers with the devices that they seek across the price segments. So no other better person than Sumit here from Lava. I'll start with him. I told him before, we had an acronym, fast forward like 10 years back. We used to call it the milk brands. I'm not sure how many of you know Micromax, Intex, Lava and Carbon. Lava is the flag bearer of Indian innovation. So Sumit, let's talk in terms of what it takes for a homegrown brand to really go from that position of being the only Indian flag bearer to a powerhouse of innovation. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhu, for giving this opportunity. So, if you talk about how this industry is growing from the last 20 years of time, is we are continuously evolving in terms of the product quality, experience, and the capabilities. But if you look at the Indian ecosystem, so we have started working in the handset industry from the last 10 years of time. And I'm very proud to say that Lava was one of the core player who has started and envisioned it way back in 2014 itself, that the way Indian handset industry requirements are going to be there, we need to set up our own manufacturing, design, R&D centers in the country. And that's the fundamental reason that we kept on building the capabilities in developing the good quality products, both in the feature phone as well as in the smartphones. And when the turbulence was there, and so many interventions and the big investments made by the global brands in India, rest of the brands could not survive because they don't have the fighting capability with respect to those brands. And since we have developed it, that's why we are there. And right now our product quality is at a very good level and it can easily compete with the global brands. And one statement I'd like to just correct with the Prabhu is, we are not the standing Indian brand, we are going to be the leading Indian brand of the country.
Absolutely. And that's something which really calls for an applause as well. I have been amazed with the innovation that they have been putting out. In case you have not seen, you should definitely check out some of their latest smartphones as well as other innovation that they have out there. I'll quickly switch gears to Gautam here, HMD. Lot of interesting stuff that they are doing. I just came back from Mobile World Congress. There are very meaningful innovations that the brand has been bringing about, and which again redefines the relationship with the consumer, and not just in smartphones, but across product segments as well. But let's talk of smartphones. Let's talk about the feature phones. You have been a leader there as well. Like between you and Lava, there's that healthy competition that's been there. Talk in terms of what you are seeing. How's the roadmap ahead for HMD?
Thanks, Prabhu. So I think like Sumit mentioned, it's a long journey that we have traveled. And yes, way back in 1995, feature phones were there. I'm not too sure how many young people still recall or realize that feature phones are still there. India continues to sell close to about 50 million feature phones every year still. So it's a bread and butter for a lot of people out there, which is towards the long tail per se. So specifically when I look at the topic here, specifically the premiumization of the phones, so the feature phone journey itself, and I'm just talking about the last 3 years of feature phone innovation that has happened, and the premiumness that has come itself in the feature phone. So one example, UPI. Practically, those consumers, they want to be financially included, but that solution was not there. So we as a company brought in that, innovation and, kind of gave that to the consumers. Secondly, it's a small screen, so, but they still want to be entertained, right? So that then what is the meaningful innovation that you can bring in the feature phone space? You bring them the cloud apps. The horsepower is all on the cloud, whereas, the device does the rest, which is the display does the rest. So those are meaningful innovations that are coming in the feature phone space and taking the, trend forward. And as 4G, 5G networks are evolving, Prabhu, I'm sure more meaningful innovations will come in feature phones. There are certain in the pipeline, which obviously I can't disclose, but that innovation will continue. And coming specifically to smartphone, when you look at each price point, today the value, is of utmost importance to the consumer. They are not necessarily going and buying the cheapest phone out there. Within that price point, you will see they are picking up the best value that they can get. Whether it is 6,000 rupees, whether it is 50,000 rupees, is the best value that the brand or the device delivers to them. That's what they will go in for. And our endeavor in that space is that we are carving out our niche. So for example, right to repair is what we have brought in. The most repairable device is what we have brought in. Giving the choice to the consumer that if you're so cagey about giving your device to the care center that he can play around with your data or they can, wipe off your data, that choice is now given to you to repair. So there are TGs or cohorts which will kind of emerge, there will always be takers for that. Another example is the parent and the child, the parent and control that we are taking it to the next level. So these are, separate niches that we are trying to cater to and, trying to define or redefine the space which is there. And obviously there are latent demand and consumer needs, and that's why we are trying to address that.
And Gautam didn't mention, but again, this is a company that you must look out for because I have been closely tracking them. Some of the innovations that they have put out over the last 2 years at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, and globally they have been doing well. They are bringing those innovations to India. You would see, for the audience that's out here, there are a lot of new innovations for teenagers specifically that you have. And I'm very much excited about the brand and how you're going to play it in the near term. With that, let me come to the challenger brand here. Pranay, this is a smartphone brand that's I've been watching very closely over the last 3 years. Nothing's journey has been absolutely phenomenal, right from where they started from, all of the challenges that faced. It's important to ask you, Pranay, again, like how tough or is it for a challenger brand to enter a hyper-competitive smartphone market like India and carve a niche for yourself in this premium, and the way I define premium, right? It's across price tiers. How tough has it been for you? How have consumers, and this is more or less the consumer base that you are catering to, the young and the savvy as such, So over to you.
Yeah, hi. So Prabhu, one interesting thing for Nothing as a brand was that initially also, we were always known for our innovation. Our DNA is innovation. So most of the consumers who saw us and liked us for the innovative products. We had an interesting problem in that we had a core audience which was very tech savvy people who loved our product, but not enough people knew about the product. So that became one of the tasks we had to solve. In terms of India, if you see, value for money products is what everybody wants. So they want the best camera, the best battery, the best processor at the lowest price. So we have managed to give them that, as well as give them a design ethos and a philosophy where our phone stands out from everybody. Because what's going to happen as we progress, right? If everybody starts giving you the lowest price device at the best value, which is what we're all doing, at some point in time, it looks like a sea of sameness. Everybody looks like a clone. So where we broke out is if you look at any of our devices, even at a distance of let's say 6 feet, you know that it's a Nothing device. So we give you the performance and we give you a device that you're proud to hold in your hand. And that's where we kind of stood out. If you see our growth, we grew by I think 577% last year. It was primarily built on the fact that the young in India want devices which are value for money, but also which are a statement, something they can flaunt in their hand. And we have managed to give them that package. What we find difficult is obviously pricing here is going to be very competitive because people are bringing features at lower and lower prices. While we will continue to give you the best value at this thing, we also want to break out from this and also kind of build more premium products where people start looking for features beyond what is already been provided. For example, like the glyph light, or like we've introduced a periscope camera at a 30,000 price point. So these are things that we're trying to add to the portfolio. And the initial success has been there, and we hope to continue on this one.
Nothing has been, as I said, like our data itself, showcases that across last few quarters they have been doing tremendously well, and again a brand to watch out for. Again, now let me just switch gears, come back to our friend Harsh here. Sir, if you can talk about some of those challenges, what we are seeing with Make in India. Like we have excelled to a certain point now. There are parts of the puzzle which is still work in progress. How do you see us as a nation evolving from here?
So for any industry to grow, I see it as a garden. So for any garden to bloom, what do you need? The nourishment. First to plant the seed, the nourishment. And the most important aspect is taking out the weeds. And I must say, with the conviction that the Indian government intent is to take out those weeds. And that is they are trying from last many years, and that is why this growth, what you spoke in my previous talk, I was telling the growth of the industry in those terms. So to get India at an advantage, while we were importing the phones, previously it was at the 0% duty, it was ITA1 product, the government took out policies to counter those things. However, to balance the disabilities which are coming in the way of manufacturing in the country, government launched the scheme of PLI. PLI for mobile, PLI for electronic IT hardware, separate production-linked incentives. This was an incentive given to the manufacturers who are trying to establish the country in India, the manufacturing facilities in India. Then there is a scheme known as SPECS, which was for the development of component ecosystem in the country. Government was pushing that. Then there is a scheme of RODTEP, remission of duties on the export products. So what I mean to say, the intent of the government is very clear to push the manufacturing within the country at the highest of the level. Now, where we are having the advantage, certainly we've got a very good domestic market, everybody says. But if an industry has to flourish, it cannot be dependent only on the domestic market. It has to be banking upon the export to the complete globe, which is having 195 countries, for which India is certainly moving ahead in a very fast manner. Domestic market is large, growing manufacturing ecosystem is growing very fast and in a stable manner. However, it has got its own challenges, and it is always a work in progress. Because once a policy is implemented with some intention, after a year or two, we come to know how much result it is achieving or not. So the best part is that government support is there. However, the challenges for which the government is still finding ways, it is the supply chain gaps. We are having manufacturing industry inside country. However, for the high-end processors, the high-end cameras, still we are dependent on the import, for which the government India has to start manufacturing, and the government is working on those aspects also. There is lack of advanced semiconductor ecosystem. We are totally dependent on import as of now. And you all must have seen that government is working very hard to get that complete ecosystem inside the country. That might take some time. Then one area where we are lacking is the design, R&D. So this production-linked incentive, PLI scheme was production-linked. However, the design was outside, and we were taking the design from the outside countries, and we are not having our own design centers, design houses. So now government is planning to get something included in this incentive for the design manufacturing also. And a skilled workforce, we have got a large workforce, but we don't have a skilled workforce for these niche jobs. Again, I'll say we are aware that government is trying their best to get these workforce into place, and certainly getting all these weeds out and the full proper nourishment. By 2030, our target of $600 billion for the complete electronics industry, not only mobile, of which the mobile is certainly major chunk, 70 to 80% is there. And that is the reason this is one industry which is growing leaps and bounds in the country. As of now, 120 crore people are having a mobile, and out of which 75 to 80% are having a smartphone.
And I must add, with all of what Harsh said, this is a story in the making. I have been very candid about saying this again and again in national as well as global media. The decade ahead is something that belongs to India. As of today, as we speak, smartphones from India are being exported. Earlier, it used to be to Asian countries as well as Africa. But our data, our insights now point out that CyberMedia research, which tracks all of these smartphone trends, we have been seeing smartphone exports happening to global markets like US, Western Europe, and it's incredible to see that. Like when you see all of these smartphones being made in India, being shipped to there, and that will actually accelerate, as Harshji pointed out, as we attack all of those challenges that we have between now and 2030. It's a period where you will see more innovation happening domestically and India emerging as a hub for smartphone innovation as well as exports from here. With that, let me just come back to our friends here. I would love to, open to all of you in terms of, all things equal, which we established now. The sea of sameness, as Pranay was mentioning, what are those differentiators that you see? As analysts, we are always guilty of saying we are transporters. So some time back, we were talking of metaverse. Now we are talking of AI, agentic AI. What is that you see when you look at the smartphone specs? How do this young audience, and I'll put this to the audience as well, but starting with the three of you, Sumit, if you want to take the first step, over to you. What are those things which will define the smartphone experience between now and 2030? Is it aesthetics? Is it AI? Is it a combination of all? Over to you.
Yeah, I think so. That's our most frequently asked question, that what is going to happen with the smartphones in the next 5 to 10 years of time. So directionally, if you look at it, how this industry has evolved in the last 3-4 years of time, you might have seen that you are looking at waterproof phones, dust-proof phones, unbreakable, very high durable phones. Now the brands are also giving the commitment of 3 years of Android upgrade, 5 years of security patch update. Some people are also saying, I'll give 5 years of Android upgrade. They are making the very good quality hardware which can sustain for the longer period of time. The battery charging cycles has been also increased to 800 to 1200, so that the battery itself can sustain for 3 to 4 years of time. So one thing is very obvious, that now Indian economy and Indian people have moved from the cheap to the value product. So you take the example like the average median age of the India is 29 years. You take China is like 39 years, US is 30 years, UK is 40, and then Japan is around 50, right? So the adoption of new thing happens very fast in India. We were nowhere before COVID in the UPI transactions, and we are the biggest now in the next 4 to 4 years of time, right? Now the people want very good quality phones, so that means the build quality and the hardware, what the brands are supplying, and the ecosystem, how it is getting developed, it is going towards the very high level capability which can sustain for the 2 to 3 years of time. And that's how the life cycle of the product has also increased from almost 30 to now 41 months of time, average smartphone. If I talk about what is going to happen in the coming days, now the new thing what we are discussing, like what is happening in the AI stage, there are two directions of it. One direction is AI computing will happen at the server, and the handset will become as just like the monitor of the computer. So you can look at the things, but the real processing will happen at the back end. The second direction is you have the inbuilt processing capability in the device. So there are two directions which are happening right now. But because of the network connectivity issues throughout all the locations of the country, if you remove some of the metro towns or the tier A category towns, you do not have that level of network connectivity. That's why the direction of having the AI capabilities in the phone cannot be compromised. And that's how the chipset and the RAM and the components are being developed with the Antutu score of 1.5 lakh to 3 million, 3 nanometer chipsets, and it's now going to be 2 nanometer chipsets in the coming days. That's how the capability is being made, which can sustain for 3 to 4 years of time in the device. And this AI capability is going to be inbuilt. And that's how the ASP, the average selling price of the device, is also going to increase. That is the core reason that why ASP is increasing. The people want value, good quality product, long sustained product. And the capability of the device and the hardware should be very high. It can sustain with the next level of AI and the softwares. So that's how what I feel that in-device AI capabilities are going to play a very crucial role. Parallelly, remote cloud processing AI will be also there. But this is going to enhance the usability of the product very much. It will become very simple to use the product in the coming days. That's what the AI real contribution is.
So I think it's a very tough question, to predict what will happen. Wish we had a crystal ball and we could have seen, what is coming and what is going to become a reality. So sometimes, the world is talking about AI, but you suddenly realize that there is a new technology that comes in and it leapfrogs and takes, different dimension altogether, which nobody has thought through. So that's very much possible. But, borrowing from what Sumit has kind of stated, longevity, sustainability is something which is now kind of becoming need of the hour. Earlier the replacement cycles were like 1 year, they increased to 2 years, they increased it to 3 years. With the hardware becoming so strong, and the promise on the software coming in, I think the longevity is given. Now within that realm, you will see that maximum amount of innovation or, the work will happen on the software side. It could be driven by AI, it could be driven by, the on-device computing per se, like Sumit mentioned. But one thing is given, that people will do the same thing on the existing hardware rather than changing or upgrading their hardware. So that's clear. One trend that we see, that longevity on the hardware will be there. On AI per se, I feel that yes, there is a capability, and it might just replace the operating system in totality. You do not need an operating system anymore. You just need a dumb device. The example that I gave you of feature phone, cloud computing on the phone, and the entertainment is happening on the device. It could just be replicated here. Or you just have a bare bone operating system on the device and everything is on the cloud, which also adds up to the longevity and sustainability, because everything is on the cloud. Your hardware is redundant. So those kind of trends will emerge, but again, like I said, it's very difficult to predict what will happen eventually. There could be a technology which we have not even seen and it's in the making, which may take a new shape and shape the world.
Pranay, if I could put this differently to you, because there are some innovations that it just struck me, like with your latest devices, you did have something going there. When you look at all of this, crazy world that we live in, there are so many distractions and so on. And AI, it's becoming more and more pervasive. How do you see, smartphone brands like yourself, enabling a distraction-free experience? And secondly, in terms of the consumer acceptance, how distinct is this Indian consumer versus the global one? Like, so two-part question for you.
Yeah, so in terms of innovation, right, there are basically three vectors. There's form factor, there's processing performance of the product, and there's software, right? So in terms of form factor, I think we've settled to a form factor which is like the candy bar design. There will be variations, maximum to a flip. If you look at, processing power, we reached the point where the processing power beyond a point is not going to add any much more. And in fact, you see the processing power and the capability of the product lasting over 2 or 3 years. So therefore, you'll see longevity happening. Now the difference is obviously going to be in AI, and I'll come to the question also. So where AI slightly differs in that AI, even today in many smartphones, is all about being a party trick, like removing something in the background, blur somewhere, something. So AI in the future is going to be part of the smartphone ecosystem itself, in that in an ideal scenario, your AI should be able to take a lot of decisions for you, and that's the end game, right? So in the case of, let's say, we keep saying that we want to be in a zone where you do not have to look at the device, and I just get my device and you could see the clip lights lighting up. So the end status, for example, you could get a call from somebody, and because that person needs to be treated in a certain way, the AI would be able to even respond to that person in a certain way because the AI is built for it. So the AI tomorrow is not going to be about just showing it to a couple of people at an event, but it's about being your entire life. Your AI could take decisions for you. could kind of even be a proxy for you in many situations, in many answers. That's what the zone is going to be. And one must also understand AI has always been there, right? There's been computational photography, that's AI. So I'm an AI student actually, I've done my AI this. So I'm saying there's been some ways of the AI side. It's natural language processing which has come up more and more. The idea is not to plug AI as a separate feature which stands out and you say, hey, these three things we do. But AI should be within the system and then we kind of just bring in features which the consumer can use in their everyday life. And that's where is where we see it more and more towards going. In fact, the essential space which we tried and we are working on is basically that. You can take screenshots, you can take productivity decisions basis AI without it actually being something that you separately have to kind of look at or you just talk about in specific questions. It becomes part of your daily life.
I would like to bring the audience in. How many of you are show of hands, if you can, just so that we know that you are listening in and you are engaged as well. How many of you are using AI tools as we speak? How many of you are familiar with ChatGPT? If you can raise your hands. There are some there who are not, like, so interesting. How many of you have used Perplexity maybe? Great. So there is a prize for all of you maybe, like, you know, at the end of the day, if you raise your hands. What is that you look for in a smartphone? Is AI important for you? Yes, no? How does that help you? Like, if I can have a, you know, microphone here. And be quick and keep it short, like just share, like what do you do with any of these AI tools?
It make my life more easier if you want to search something from less compared to Google. It give me a different website, then I have to think, is this information is correct or not. If I search in, let's say in Perplexity, it give me a simple way answer which is correct more. The Perplexity analyze all the information from Google, like, and give me a correct answer, which make it easier for me to understand in a more simpler way.
And that's good. It helps, makes your life easier, and that's what we have been talking about. Anybody else out there, like anything to do with photography or camera experiences maybe?
So, not really photography or camera experience, but I sort of use AI tools to center my thoughts sometimes. Like, for example, when you use AI tools and there are different thoughts that you have, you just put it out there and it kind of helps you structure it. One thing that I absolutely don't like, a lot of people sort of literally copy pasting the content from AI and using that. And something I've sort of, you know, Pranay sitting here on the panel today, and I think something that I've seen on his LinkedIn post, he doesn't use AI. Really, you know, it puts you apart from different people who are giving too much content on LinkedIn, and it's not really your thoughts. You'd simply copy pasting it from the AI tools. So I think that sort of puts me off. Yeah.
Awesome. And I really like that, like, you know, the way they both came across, you know, and that's your audience that you're speaking to. Let's quickly jump into the future, you know, 2030. We are a young nation, more or less. This is the audience that we are speaking to. What we have seen is our country as such, you know, the domestic consumption itself is something which will drive the economy forward, right? We have, through our research, we have seen Indians are increasingly aspirational, and that's, you know, translating in terms of the smartphones that they own, in terms of the smartphone experiences that they want to have, you know. When you look at the future and this particular demanding Indian consumer as such, how do you really define what would be the market like in 2030? What is that one thing which you're really optimistic about? Starting with you, Sumit, very brief answers, like what do you really foresee in 2030? The next time we are here, maybe 5 years down the line, hopefully all of us together on this panel, if the organizers are kind enough, and let's see what that happens. Over to you.
Yeah, so actually we do a very deep study of the consumers, what they really want, what is the segmentation, all these things. One thing which is clearly coming out as a trend is that the people are working for the experience. they want better and better experience. So the per capita disposable income is going to get almost 1.6 times what is right now, today, by 2030. But the major areas where the people are going to spend the money is coming out to be in the consumer durable segment, like the devices, the equipments what they use in the home. The second thing is coming as the travel. So what people want to have the better experience in the travel, in having the good hotel. So it's mainly because of the experience what the dynamics has been shifting. And it is very fast in India. So anything which comes new, it is being adapted very fastly in India because the Indian population is very much desperate to adopt the new things. Any AI thing, I think India will be the first country which will be using the most AI tools in the coming days because it happens only in India. The people are so much knowledgeable, so much with passion to use the things. And the customer experience giving in the devices, making the life simple, making the good quality product is what the core needs of the consumers are. The second important thing, what I can foresee by 2030 is the people will be not, so the how Gen Z is going to be there because Gen Z are the generation which is going to be major decent buyer by maybe after 5 years of time, and they will be having good income. So their way of spending is not the saving trend. So they are thinking to spend more, save less, put and spend more in terms of the experience. So the form factors, the capabilities of the devices, the longevity, and you can say the simplicity of the life. The things should be on the one tip. They don't want to wait on the things. And that's how this AI and AR and VR equipments which are coming up there. So it's not only the mobile handset. The equivalent connected devices are also going to play a very important role along with the connectivity of that device. So one device controls all of your equipments, like you enter to the home, your electricity is going to be connected with the AI. The moment you enter to the home, you open the door, it has been also automatically RFID, it recognizes your face, you just enter it, and the moment you enter it, it knows that you walk to this room, and that's how the AC should be on or the fan should be on this particular temperature, and the light should be at this particular intensity at the day or night. So that's what the AI is going to take up, the complete integration of all the devices what you have in the coming days. So that's what maybe this system is moving towards. And I think India will be one of the fastest country to adapt these things because we are good. We are the best in terms of learning new things, right? So that's what I think.
Gautam,
So I think 2030, people have still not seen the real potential of a smartphone. So potential of a smartphone will evolve by 2030. It will remain central to a lot of experiences. Now, one difference I would want to highlight between global trend and India trend specifically. So globally, when you look at the Western world, they have access to multiple devices and multiple screens. So for their TV experience, they'll switch on to TV. For their content consumption, they'll switch on to a tab. But Indian consumers have just one device, which is a smartphone. So it becomes a central experience device for those consumers. Now, by 2030, this will evolve. A combination of AI plus a IoT. That is what will emerge as a trend, is what I foresee. Because that device is in your hand, that power is in your hand, and all the other, peripherals or the multiple devices which are there will stay connected to your device and communicate with you. So a smartphone will potentially, you will see a next generation avatar. There could be different form factors for sure, which will evolve, because the demands will evolve. But per se, smartphone will remain central to the experiences.
So I'm with them in the point that the smartphone is going to be a central device in the future. Like we were promised the IoT world where, you could just enter a room, lights would come on. Like I have some of it in my own house, but to even configure them all together is one nightmare. So we will reach a point where irrespective of device and irrespective of system, and we have to get to a point, there will be protocols where each device can speak to each other. And then you will have a system wherein everything can work together. And all of this will be AI controlled. So entering into a house, you will know what a person requires, setting a temperature of, let's say, the room, setting, even in terms of ecosystems or in terms of environmental protection. So you step out of a room, it will automatically switch off the AC. These are things which will also, are there in place, will also come in. I think the biggest enabler for India is going to be AI, which will support the average person. So one of the gaps you have is like, see, India is known for Jugaad, but Jugaad is limited by the resources you have. What AI really helps you is you can speak to AI and set up, let's say, get the code of an entire website. You can do analysis, etc., for which you may not even understand the statistical tools required, but AI can do that for you. And that is going to be the major shift in that AI in the hands of everybody through a smartphone will give everybody the power to leverage it and to do a lot more things in India. And I think there India will kind of step a little ahead of the rest of the world because we are also known to be more resourceful and more kind of the people who do Jugaad. Yeah, that's it.
Harshji, we did talk about the journey of Make in India, and when we look at 2030, right, there are, as you rightly said, there are those challenges which we as a nation are addressing. What I as an analyst have also seen, it's still a work in progress in terms of having those entire ecosystem of manufacturing self-contained within India and India becoming a hub. So how do you see India of 2030?
With the intent of the government of India and as an association, I can say about all the companies also same intent. So what the features, what my fellow panelists have just said, I'm very sure they all will be incorporated by 2030. And the market, India will be the number one in the globe. As of now, it is leading very fast. The jump is very fast. So if we go as per the CAGR, cumulative growth, annual growth every year, so we are going to be the number one. By 2030, there is no doubt in that. However, only my one wish list to my fellow panelists and the audience which is sitting right behind, the students. So the best thing I learned from Pranay that AI can be used as a proxy also. So college mein, in case we can use a proxy, it's a good thing for us. And my wish list is for the AI if the time travel can come. So Sumit, in case that can come, so that is our wish list.
Now request our moderator, Mr. Prabhu to kindly do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude and appreciation to all our eminent panelists. We present to Lieutenant Colonel Vardhan Srivastava, Deputy Director General Manufacturers Association for Information Technology. Thank you, sir, for your valuable inputs. We present to Mr. Pranay Rao, Marketing Director, India Nothing. Thank you, sir, for all those valuable inputs. To Mr. Sumit Singh, Head of Product, Lava International Limited. And to Mr. Gautam Dhingra, Head Product, GTM and Services Business, India and APAC, HMD Global. And I would like to invite on stage Ms. Sakshi Chawla from Exhibitions India to kindly do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude to our chairperson, moderator, Mr. Prabhu Ram. Oh, that's Ms. Nupur doing the honors. Thank you, Ms. Nupur.